Hi, my name's Deborah Johnson, and this is the fourth in the series, the last video on eating in moderation. The overall goal for the series has been applying grace thinking for eating in moderation, Romans 6 through 8, trying to glorify God and stepping out of the sin cycle and doing it ourselves. So the specific goal for this particular video is reviewing the grace chart one last time, and then really setting a plan or options for plans on how to set up your and personalize your own goals. Okay, let's start with prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity. Help us, Lord, to focus on what's important to you, doing it your way, yielding in faith, walking by faith, and accessing the doctrine that you have placed in our inner man, rather than yield to the flesh, to sin in the flesh, and really serve Satan. We don't want to do that anymore. We want to really glorify you. Help us to do that. Help us to pay attention and think about the verses in your precious Son's name. Amen. Okay. First thing I want to do is I did want to refer back to something that we talked about before, and that's mortifying the deeds of the body. Basically what that is overwhelming your mind with the Word of God, dwelling on it through the day, and that pushes out the doctrine of this world and renews your mind. Not just head knowledge, but in your heart. So it's application of this process. That's the mortifying process. I want us to go to Romans 8 and read those verses, and then I'll go over the grace way chart. Chapter 8, verse 11, it says, "But if the spirit of him that raised up Jesus from the dead dwell in you," that's God who raised Jesus from the dead, dwell in you, "he that raised up Christ from the dead shall also quicken your mortal bodies," make alive your mortal body, the housing that you're living in. In the past, it was serving sin. That's all it could do. But remember, in Romans 6:6, the old man was crucified, that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth he should not serve sin. This is how God will now then mortify the deeds of your body, and so that you can live. It says, he will quicken your mortal bodies by his spirit that dwelleth in you. The spirit with the word has to dwell in you. That means feel at home, be comfortable, be there all the time. This is its home. And it's not out there just when you come to church and you read your Bible for 15 minutes, but it's there all day long. Verse 12, "Therefore, brethren, we are debtors not to the flesh, to live after the flesh. For if we live after the flesh, ye shall die. But if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, ye shall live." And that life, that resurrection life, that's Christ in you, is able to live as you yield. And that's as simple as it is. What is this labeled? What can you label this? You could say it's the quickening process, the mortifying process, or even being led by the Spirit. How does it happen? And that's the next verse, verse 14. "For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God." You're functioning as an adult son or daughter unto the living God as you yield and allow God to be the one that's leading you, not your flesh, the course of this world, your feelings, or what you see out there. That's really the goal. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was clear from last time. And on that same note, I want to review the chart. Law manifests sin. And as the law manifests sin, we are thinking in ourselves, we're thinking, okay, I'm not going to do this in the efforts of my flesh. I'm going to yield to God. He's the one. He's my power. He's my wisdom. And so, yes, I've been eating unhealthy, but I no longer need to do that. And so I know God can help me. He is able to do all things. His grace is sufficient. There's all these verses that will be going around in your mind as you start this process. The second one, you start to think differently. You don't just say it, you're thinking differently. You realize you have a goal. You set the goal with God, you and God, and you determine to do all things unto the Lord and not to men. And so the power, you realize there's power in those verses, and that's what you're going to rely on, not your own energy and effort. And you also realize that there's no condemnation from God. Any self-condemnation, any condemnation that comes your way, it's really legalism, and you're going to step out from under that by walking the other way and thinking the other way, not giving credence or exalting it in your mind, not allowing that record to keep playing that played. So that's the Y in the road. So down here, we make a decision to walk after the Spirit, to be led by the Spirit, and no longer be led by our feelings and flesh. Okay? You yield in faith and mortify the deeds of the body. As you yield and think on the Word, it displaces the exalted position of the flesh and its feelings. You're hungry, and yet you are focused on other things, and that's what drives you day to day, not your feelings. And so you learn contentment in that situation. The next one is you start to see the Romans 3-5 cycle happening. Tribulation works patience, patience experience hope, and hope maketh not ashamed. You start understanding that as you do it one day, you're emboldened, empowered to continue and realize God does have this. He's got this. He's got all of it. He knows perfectly well and is able. And He's not going to take the hunger away. He's not going to take the problem away. He's going to teach you through it to strengthen you. And so what happens? You've broken the cycle. It is now no longer holding you. So I just wanted to review that because I think it's important as you start this plan and think about your plan, that these are things that are mulling around in your mind constantly. If you have to write them down, write them down. Okay. Like I said, personalize this approach, your goal. Think about it. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Start with a small goal and keep it for a week. Don't keep changing it through the week. Maybe every Saturday, review it, and maybe you can tweak it a little bit. Pray about it. Ask, talking to God about what you're thinking, what went wrong, what went well, and what you want to do for the next week. So it doesn't have to be a 5-month goal plan. It doesn't even have to be a 2-month goal plan. You can go week to week. I personally like to go think in terms of 3 months at a time, and then I break it down. So in 3 months, I might want to lose 5 pounds, and then the objectives might be this first week, I'm just going to stop all unhealthy snacks, or I'm going to stop half of the unhealthy snacks and replace them, something like that. And then the next week, add something to that or adjust it a little bit according to what it's working well. If it's easy, make it a little more difficult. Don't go wild, and just figure out yourself what's working well and what isn't. Okay. It helps to define it and write it down. That way you can look at it through the week, what to change. And there seems to be, in my mind, two categories, maybe three: eating healthier, weight loss, and you can add exercise. I just add exercise to each of those. So let's just go with that. Two different categories: eating healthier and weight loss, whichever you want to go with. You can combine them if you want. Maybe you don't want to focus on weight loss, so just focus on the eating healthier. So before you start either of these two focuses and the goals, what you want to do is take a week and write down everything that you put in your mouth, including the drinks, because there's sugar to them other than water. Write it down. Write down and give yourself a real good view of what is happening. We can lie to ourselves. We can pretend. We can not see certain things. This gives us a concrete, objective view. Then pray about what you want to target and what it is that is the most problematic areas. I'd start with those. So for the if you were setting goals for just trying to eat healthier, what you might want to do is really look at the most difficult unhealthy habits that you have, like maybe drinking too much soda, or you're eating ice cream every day. You want to pick out the two most unhealthy habits and replace them with healthy habits, something like that. So be thinking about it. Just these are suggestions for thinking it out. You might want to target times in your day when you're going to eat and when you're going to sleep, as it's a healthy approach, and you want to plan ahead of time these things. It's easier for if you have problems with eating late at night. What you might want to do is plan when your meals are, maybe 2 small meals in the morning, 2 small meals in the afternoon, and then 1 main meal at dinner time, something like this. The first week you just might want to adjust your timing or your size of meals. You might have 1 big meal and then just small snacks, that type of thing. Another thing that I found helpful was I would break up my meal. For example, my main meal, at least me, I eat a meat, a vegetable, and then maybe something like potatoes, a carbohydrate, something like this. I might eat the vegetables in the morning for breakfast. I might eat for lunch. I might eat the mashed potatoes, and then I might have 1 or 2 small snacks, healthy snacks, and then for dinner I would eat a fairly regular meal, and then that would be it. You can adjust it however it works for you. Now I eat my main meal in the morning, and I eat smaller meals until I'm done eating for the day. Let me give you a couple of particular examples for goals for healthier eating. One, you might write, increase healthy food choices by adding 5 new ones a week, replacing 5 unhealthy ones, and then maintain that for the week. That might be, it's really an objective. Your goal might be that you want to lose 15 pounds in 6 months. I don't really know what your goal could be anything. But for a healthier eating, generally there's not a weight goal in mind. You can have it in the back of your mind. It's more or less maybe in 6 months. I guess that's the kind of goal for healthier eating. In 6 months, you want to have eliminated your unhealthy choices, or drastically reduce them. Maybe once or twice, once a week or something like that, have an unhealthy choice. So in 3 months, you might no longer be eating unhealthy foods all day long. A second goal might, it's really an objective, might be eat one regular sized meal with healthy choices, and the second two meals cut the portions in half, and focus just on eating healthy foods, that type of thing. Add a exercise program, maybe 3 times a week, maybe the second or third week. That's just some examples. For focusing on weight loss, what we want to do is, again, make that list of what you're eating and putting in your mouth for the week, and then look at that to help you strategically decide a new plan to limit the amount of calories that you're putting in your mouth. It could be the first week you might reduce all high-calorie foods and replace them with low-calorie foods that you like. It's really important, at least in when I did it, when I did the weight loss, was that it had to be things that I liked. So I really racked my brains for good, healthy, and low-calorie choices and for snacks, and I had them in the house at all times. And if I just had to have something, or when I was going to have my small meal snacks, I always had many options. That's what I did. For example, I got a good cracker of some sort, and I like to put things on it. So if it was cheese, or if it was meat, that type of thing, something that was healthy, but something that satisfied my cravings. And then different things that you could put on crackers that maybe didn't have a lot of calories that I enjoyed. That was one area that really helped me. I still use that one. Okay, fasting. There are many ways to fast. With my weight loss, I did fast once a week. It was always on Sunday, and when I fasted, I had only liquids, mostly water, teas, broth, and then I allowed myself a smoothie, low calorie if you can, and that day I didn't take any other, food. Another way to fast would be, strategic fasting. I'm not sure what they would call it, but looking at your day and seeing what eating times you have during your day and curtailing them a little bit. For example, for me, I eat from about 8 to 3. And I don't eat before it, I don't eat after. That one's hard because with eating with family and cooking for family. But if you can do it, it really, your body gets used to it. It took me a while to get used to not eating, close to going to bed, but my body got used to it, and now it doesn't bother me at all. But what they say is, if you can, strategically set a pattern for your fasting each day, the fasting would be this. If you decided to eat your breakfast at 9 and then dinner at 6 or at 5:30, then you would eat from 9 to 6, nothing after, nothing before. And so your body gets time to process the food, and actually it's a lot more efficient, and you actually lose more weight that way. So look up, it might be called intermittent fasting or intentional fasting. I saw some articles in the newspaper actually, and I guess this is one of the new things that they're recommending. Anyway, some goals or objectives for losing weight. The goal might be to lose, 5 pounds in 2 months. And how to do that would be, you would want to maintain the weight loss. The first month, lose the weight. The second month, maintain it by reducing your portions, maybe in half. You can do it however you want. do it in half, and then if that's not enough, I just kept reducing it until I lost weight. Another way to approach it would be to meal plan. Everything that you put in your mouth, you plan out for the morning. You put it in containers, and your main meal you have already contained, and you pull it out, whether at a restaurant or whether you're, with your family. You're not eating at the same time. During this time, sometimes you just need to come to terms with you're not going to be able to partake in what the family, everybody else partakes in. If you go to a party, you're not going to be able to snack on the chips unless you choose to do it. If you think this is the one day that you're going to let yourself go, if that works for you, you do that. I found that just increased my appetite for the snack foods. I did better with phasing them out. Potato chips, there's something innately addictive about certain foods, and I know sugar is one of them. So you do what works for you, but I would recommend that when you go to parties or go out, especially if Christmas is coming for you, and that's a big time of partying, that you bring your own. You bring your own and save your snacks, some of your eating for that time, and be eating that. It doesn't matter what people think. This is about you and God. Okay. What you can do is eat one meal, one regular meal, maybe even a small meal for your main meal, and then use the rest of your times eating as just snacks, 2 to 3 snacks that day. So maybe your main meal might be lunchtime. Have a snack in the morning and maybe 2 in the afternoon, and have them substantial snacks that are healthy, that are low calorie. That's the kind of goals. You want to set it according to what works for you. Those are just some examples. Adjust it. Add things, subtract things. If you weigh yourself every day, and I suggest that you do, you will get to know what works and what does not work. You'll have immediate feedback. Doing it after 3 or 4 days, you're not really learning what you did wrong. And that was what I found. I really don't know. What did I do? What did I do? Is this just water weight, or is it, you just play games, then you get fed up and you don't do it. So the feedback, it is hard to get on the scale. I still find it hard to get on the scale. I do it when I shower, maybe about 3 times a week. And I have to talk myself into it, really, because my flesh talks myself out of it. Okay, so the maintenance program is probably the most important thing. We all can lose the weight. Generally, it's keeping it off is the problem. And for me, I had a real problem with keeping it off. And so I had to maintain a pattern of good eating, or healthier or less eating, whatever my goal was, I had to maintain. And that's where, again, weighing yourself, you would see the ups and downs. As soon as it went up, I cut back something. Something wasn't working. But in a maintenance program, you can start to go back a little bit to your regular eating, and your body needs to get used to that weight. Sometimes it's very difficult. Excuse me, I have got some congestion. Sometimes your body just plateaus, and so it takes a little bit more effort. Or after you lose 10 pounds, it plateaus and you have a hard time. Don't give up. The plateaus it's a mechanism for your body that God put in there. I'm not quite sure. You'd have to look up why that's there, but everybody has those. You just have to push through it, and whatever it takes for you to push through your plateau. Don't give up. Continue and make it harder for your flesh to keep the control. You're in control with God in you, and so yield. and just reduce whatever you need to reduce to get to your goal. That's how I see it. Okay. Determine ahead of time problem areas and problem situation. List them out on paper and now troubleshoot them. I've got mine, and I'll give you the ones that I thought were the most difficult. Restaurants, wow, they're hard. And we would go out to restaurants a couple times a week, and I decided that I would, just choose to eat differently. And so if I didn't bring what I needed, like a snack, in a plastic bag or in a little container in my purse, then what I would do is I would look at the different restaurants that we mostly go to and maybe ask if we could go to those if it's easier, and pick certain menu items that I knew would be in my diet. For me, I would eat, a vegetable or a soup, or not a big meal. I wouldn't really go there when I'm in. I wouldn't go order that. And if I did, I would have it packaged up and just eat the one thing that I was going to eat for that time. Sometimes you just want to avoid going to restaurants if you just don't feel that you can deal with it right now. And that's a fine thing too. Just don't go. A side salad, that would be my main course. That would be what I would eat, or the soup, like I said. So, or, 2 orders of vegetables. Dessert and snack time. When the snacks would come out, when the dessert it was there, I would have that as a replacement. I would have 3 or 4 things. Maybe it would be a fruit cup, or maybe not, at the restaurant it's really limited, but if you were home, you could purchase certain things. I had fruit cups that were all in natural juice, and that's what I had, and it was very sufficient. Or a small yogurt with some fruit in it, that type of thing. But the yogurt's high calorie, a lot of sugar. You want to look at those that don't have a lot of sugar. They're out there. That's what we're doing right now. And allow yourself a treat once in a while. Maybe once a week, allow yourself to have a small snack or dessert that you really, really want. A small portion, though. Start learning to accept and be thankful for the smaller portion. It can keep stirred up your craving for sugar. So for me, I didn't really do that. I did the fruit. Worked better for me. Okay, breakfast and lunch eating. You could break one meal into 2 or 3 parts, and that really worked well for me. I could still eat. In fact, I ate more. The more times I could eat, the better I liked it. And so I would try to look for things that would last a long time. I'd break them into pieces. That's why I like the crackers and cheese. I'd break them into small pieces, and it would take me time to put whatever I wanted on the little piece of cracker. And I was eating for a longer period. I went with what I enjoy. Okay. What to do in your week. Think out the options of what works for you and what might work for you, and then tweak the list. A meditation verse list, calling a friend for encouragement, and I would pick that friend wisely, who's available, who is not going to put you under the law, that type of thing. You can journal your feelings. Pray, talk to God, take a walk, have a special snack, extra snack that you'd allow yourself once in a while, an extra meal, if you will. I called my snacks meals, really. Drink a lot of water. That fills you up. That reduces your appetite. Even flavored water is good. Distract yourself with spiritual things, thinking on those things. That also helps. definitely review your goals, and that will keep you on focus. And then whatever mistakes you make for the week, write them down so you don't forget. Keep a journal of a sort. Excuse me, or a place where you write these things down and for week to week, so you don't stop making the mistake this week and then next week you do it again. I have a memory problem as I get older, and so writing them down really helped. Okay. So how to start? I wouldn't try to get a perfect plan in place. I'm just giving you some ideas. Choose something and go with it, and then walk by faith in it and tweak it as you go. Keep reviewing the lessons if they're helpful, especially this one, if it helps you to understand some of the options and ways to look at it. But you can start a program all at once. That means, not really just focus on one meal. Some people just want to cut back one meal and eat regularly the rest of the time, and then the next month or the next week they cut back another meal. That is a fine way. It takes a lot longer, but it's really easier for some people. For me, I like to just jump in and start it. So that's the all at once plan. Put the whole plan in effect at one time. It's easier in that you can develop a new habit faster that way. It's a package of behaviors that go all together. You can do it the slow way, and then slowly incorporating good eating items, low calorie, over a long period of time, or you can do it within the week and cut out your unhealthy eating and just find replacements right off the bat. In the slow one, you just do it very slowly, just place a few at a time. So either way, it will work. It depends on what you would like. An example might be on month 1 to 2, you might stop your snacks and desserts, and no seconds, and no eating after a specified time of day. Month 3 and 4, you might take smaller portions, eat only half at a restaurant. As soon as they put the food down, cut it in half, everything in half, and if you have to, put it in a box right away so you're not enticed. I just cut it in half, and I'm fine with that now. Make a list of what you like to eat with fewer calories. That's good nutrition. Strategically, eat those as a snack. Add them for a meal or two. So that would be really the way to do it. One is slow, one is fast to apply. Weighing yourself the same time daily probably will give you the most frustration, in that you'll be discouraged, but it's an opportunity to get off the fleshly thinking and get on to spiritual thinking. How your flesh feels is not the issue. It's another Y in the road to walk by faith, and so you want to set that aside and focus on what God is, what you've determined to do with God. So the actual getting on the scale, if you can learn to do it, it would be another opportunity to put to death your flesh and fleshly thinking. Okay, I think that's really it. I just want to say, for homework, reflect on the process, use what you've learned, and keep growing. Review your goals daily, and the videos as you feel you need the encouragement. I'm always up for a phone call if you have a question, or you've hit a hurdle you just can't seem to get over. I would be glad to do the encouragement or coaching. Be patient with yourself in grace. It's not the law. Even if for 3 months you haven't lost anything, there's some thinking that needs to be adjusted. So give God time to do that. Give yourself time and go back and rethink some things. Read Romans 6, 7, and 8 over and over. And not just read it like a checklist item. Okay, I read it. I don't see anything. Not like that, but rather slowly. How can this help me in my eating in moderation? How can I eat unto the Lord, not overeat for my flesh, but eat to live and to be healthy? How can I do this better? How does this verse help me in my thinking? Understanding your death, your identification in the death, burial, and resurrection, highly important. Understanding that when you do yield unto God, that's resurrection life. That's Christ in you. The more you think about those things, the more encouraged you'll be. There will be a handout available. If you let me know, I'll be glad to give it to you. And then once you go through this, you lose your weight, give yourself some time and then try applying it to another aspect of your life. For me, I applied it to a fear wall. I was always afraid of certain things, and I would just say, no, I can't do that. And then I realized the why in the road, the yielding. I can do that. In fact, it's a ministry opportunity. And so you just use this process, because it's a life process, to glorify God. Okay, thank you for listening. I hope it's been helpful. If you have any suggestions or questions, give me a call. Thank you.